I want to make a short video before I send these switches off. 2 days ago I posted in the r/mech market subreddit that I was looking for somebody to custom cut a plate. It turns out I've been collecting a whole bunch of different switches from different manufacturers for a while, and I finally have too many, and I need a giant plate to hold them all. So I have about 120 unique switches as manufactured. That is 120 switches that don't that aren't like Franken switches, that aren't stuff people are just throwing together in their houses or their basements or garages. I also have Jailhouse. I also have stuff like a Zealistotle here. And some others, but those are the main ones. So I posted on a mech market that I'm looking for this, and somebody chimed in and tagged user Abe21599 and said, oh, he's the tester master. And then Abe chimed in and said, oh, I use Jolimon, Jolimon, to essentially get his giant test plates. Well, it turns out, a few weeks ago I contacted Jolimon, and he said that his laser cutter had just died. And that's part of why I was posting in the mech market, because I'd sort of reached out to somebody that I knew did this sort of work, and they said, oh, not today. So Abe and I start messaging back and forth, because I'm like, hey, he first messaged me, he says, hey, do you have any pics of your collection? I'd love to see somebody else's collection of switches. And I said, well, no, because that's why I need a plate. I want something that looks good that I can show off my collection. And and I want to compare things like, here's a Kailh Purple and an Outemu Purple, and this is the Outemu Ice Purple. And these are both, I feel like, really trying to copy Zealio switches and compete with Zealio switches. And I think the Kailh is actually really pretty nice in the sense that you have a completely clear housing, just like the Zealio, but they have these pins that are much nicer. I forget what you call them, but they're these nice rounded pins that I think are a lot nicer to just use, and they're better for if you're doing hot swap switches. So I actually might get a whole bunch of these and see if I don't do something like a Zealistotle with the Kailh housing. And see how those feel, and if they feel good and sound good. Just because I like these pins better, and I like the all clear housing, which is really why I went with a Zealistotle and not a Gadistotle, because really it's the same thing. Gateron makes the housing for Zeal switches. But anyway, so Abe and I start talking, and he says, hey, what do you have? Do you have a list? So yeah, of course I have a list. I have a big Google Docs spreadsheet with everything I have, and he sends his my way, and we sort of compare what we have, and we sort of arrange a trade. So I'm sending him, let's see here, here's the Kailh Pros, a bunch of these, not that one. So I have these 4 Kailh Pros that I'm sending him. There's a Kailh Pro Burgundy. It's a linear switch, and it feels nice. It's pretty smooth. It's a nice switch. Kailh Pro Purple, which again, this is like a Zealio clone. A Kailh Pro Light Green, which is this clicky one. Yeah. And then what's this guy? Oh yeah, okay, good. So this is the Outemu. Yeah, so these ones, and then I'm also sending him the Outemu Ice Light Purple. So this is the Outemu Ice, and the Ice have these all clear housings. Outemu Ice Light Purple, Dark Purple, and Blue. So these two are both tactile, just like the Zeals. Again, they're really trying to compete with Zeal. And then the Blue, which has a really nice click. This is a great clicky switch. In fact, let me just compare it to the the Zealistotle. And yeah, I might need to do a teardown on one of these because these feel great. They're great switches. And might be a really strong competitor to the Zealistotle, which is a really expensive switch to make. These are like $1 a piece to make when you get everything. And these are, you know, half the price. And you can just buy them in bulk. And maybe even cheaper than half the price. So the Outemu Ice Blue and an Outemu Teal, which is this one right here. Also clicky and a little bit softer sounding. And then I also have some other weird switches. This is a BSUN Brown tactile bump. It has a nice long bump, which I personally prefer. A lot of these, you know, the Zeals and a lot of these clones, the bump happens there, and then from about here, like about half the travel, bump is right at the top, half the travel is just linear at the bottom, which is great for people who don't want to bottom out and they want to know that they've actuated their key through tactile feedback. But I personally, I don't really love that feeling. I actually like a longer bump. So these ones, there's a little bit of travel, a good maybe millimeter of travel without a bump, then a bump for about 2 millimeters, and then a final millimeter of linear travel again. This is a switch of my own making, and I call it an Aristolio. So when you make Zealistotles, you have the Zeal housing and you have the Zeal plunger, and you take the plunger out of the Zeal housing and then you stick in the Aristotle housing from the Aristotle switches into here, Zealistotle. Pretty well-known switch for feeling awesome and sounding awesome. But then what most people do is they just throw away the rest of this, and I thought, well, why don't I'll just make some switches. It's like all free switches. The housing on the Aristotles are awful. You can see that here's a little leg has been bitten off. But they have a really kind of nice tactile bump that if you're like me and you don't like the bump at the top of the travel and then a whole bunch of linear, the bump lasts almost the entire travel of the switch. So there's about maybe a millimeter of linear, and then this bump that doesn't ever seem to go away, just bump all the way down through the bottom out. They are cheap, and they're obviously just sort of garbage and a bit of a joke, but the Aristolio switch is conveniently also very nice feeling, I think. Other people may say they feel mushy, but they feel mushy in the best way, almost like a Topra mush. So the Aristolio, you heard it here first, Aristolio. And then I have this weird TTC orange thing. I saw these on AliExpress, and I just bought a bunch of them. Still running? Yeah. I bought a whole bunch of these just because they have a click. They're probably like a medium weight switch, something like maybe a 55 or a 60 gram. And they're all orange. The housing's orange, the plunger's orange, everything's orange, which is funny. So I just bought them because why not? And then finally I have these Kailh pinks. These are like the bronze, I think. The bronze. They have a double click, so they click. And they click on the upstroke as well. Click, click. They feel almost identical to the bronze. I don't think it's the copper, I think it's the bronze. Feel almost identical to the bronze, and they're pink, so they're pretty cool. And I have a whole bunch of these. So I'm sending all of these off to Abe21599, and he's gonna send me a bunch of switches that I don't have, that I've been sort of hunting for, looking for, wish I had, but haven't spent the money on yet. Yeah, these are commercially available. They're pretty easy to come by, except for the Zealistotle and the Aristolio, both of which are Franken switches, and sort of the the doppelganger of each other, as it were. So I'm going to send these off. I hope Abe likes them. And that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.